Chapter 14, improve accessibility. Okay, so accessibility is pretty cool to have in an introductory tutorial because you don't get that in many often tutorials. And if you really want to be a front-end developer, like a pure front-end developer, you need to know like best practices for accessibility. So let's go to our thing. I'm gonna skip a lot of this text. I feel like I've been rambling on it too much, so I'll just try to cover like the main points. What is accessibility? Accessibility refers to designing and implementing web applications that everyone can use, including those with disabilities, right? Keyword accessibility, access. It's a vast topic that covers many areas such as keyboard navigation, semantic HTML, don't just throw divs everywhere, images, colors, videos, etc. Okay, so there's more resources here. We won't go in depth, but it's better than a nice big picture is pretty important. So it looks like we're going to use the ESLint accessibility plugin in Next.js, which is already by default included with Next.js. Cool. So for example, the plugin warns us if we have images without alt tag to use the area attributes and role attributes incorrectly and more. So let's see how it works. So let's add a script to our package.json. Let me close some files. Script to our package.json called lint. And it'll be next lint. Okay, and looks like my prettier automatically formatted up here. And let's see here. So let's just go ahead and run that command. So I'm gonna shut down my dev server. I don't have to, but I'm going to. And we'll run npm run lint. So no ESLint warnings or errors. Okay, cool. But let's force one. Let's go to UI invoices table. UI invoices table. And we have an alt tag right here. Let's go ahead and just comment that out. Save. And we will run the script again. Warning, in app UI invoices table 88 line 88, column 23, warning, image elements must have an alt prop, either with meaningful text or an empty string for decorative images. Okay, and then if we try to deploy this application to Vercel, we would get this warning in our build logs so we can run it locally to make sure we catch any of these lint errors before we deploy. So let's go ahead and put this back, save. Improving form accessibility, semantic HTML, make sure we use inputs and options instead of divs. Labeling, let's make sure we use the label element and the HTML4 element to make sure each form has a descriptive label. Focus outline, so make sure when you're using the keyboard to navigate between elements, you have some kind of indicator, like an outline for each element when you are on it. Form validation, so let's go, let me pull up the dev server again. Okay, we're back here, and it's saying let's go to our create invoices. Let's press create invoice with an empty field. Empty fields. What happens? Something went wrong, right? We shouldn't even be able to do that, or try our best to prevent that from happening. You get an error because we're sending empty form values to our server action. Okay, so client-side validation. Not the strongest, but it still helps things like submitting an empty form from the front end client. So let's go to our invoices create form, and let's go to our input for amount. This is too much text here. Let's go down here, and right here we will stick in a built-in HTML validation called required. Save. So now if I go ahead and submit this form, at least it won't let us because our amount has a required attribute on it. This can be bypassed, but at least it's a small safety net. Okay, and now this is generally okay because most ATs support validation, browser validation. What is ATs? ATs. Let's learn together. Let's go to ChatGPT. in this sentence from Next.js's tutorial, what does AT mean? AT typically stands for assistive technology. Assistive technologies are software or tools designed to assist people with disabilities in using computers and access to digital content. Okay, cool. So like screen readers and stuff. So what did it say again? I lost everything. Yeah. This approach is generally okay because some assistive technologies support browser validation. Okay, an alternative to client-side validation is server-side validation. Let's see how we can implement that in the next section. Okay. For now, delete the required attribute field if you added them. Okay, let's delete it. Okay, server-side validation. By validating forms on server, you can ensure your data is in the expected format before sending it to your database. Reduce the risk of malicious user bypassing client-side validation and have one source of truth. Okay, so basically it's saying instead of just doing it on the client, let's just do our validation on the server, because at the end of the day, this data is going to the server. So let's make sure the data is there in the server. That way we don't have to worry about trying to validate on the client and the server. Because you can send the API request to the server directly without the form. So you can send it directly without the form, you can send it with the form. But in both cases, you're going directly to the server. So let's just validate the data on the server. All right, so in our create form, looks like we have to make this a client component because we're going to use a hook. Okay, and this hook is not Next.js specific. It is called use form state from React DOM. Save. Okay, and so inside your form component, use form state hook takes two arguments, action and initial state, and returns two values, date and dispatch, similar to the use reducer function hook. So let's set this up. So const use form state takes in an action. So we already know what action we're doing, create invoice, and initial state. Initial state. We're going to create the initial state in a minute. And then we will get out from that the state and a dispatch. So let's create that initial state function. Const initial state will be message null. So before we even send anything to data, what does our state look like? We're having a blank message, blank errors. And instead of passing the create invoice action to the form, we are passing the dispatch. So we can work with the use form state hook. And we have to edit our, you see something? We have to edit our server action to work with this hook. And we're going to do a couple things. First, we're going to add error messages to our schema. So we're going to add a invalid type error. Please select a customer. We are going to add an .gt of 0, so make sure it's a positive amount. Message, please enter an amount greater than $0. And finally, we will get status, comma, invalid type error, please select an invoice status. I need to do comma here and print here. Okay. So now if we throw an error for these fields, we'll get the specific message that we created to make it a little bit more user friendly. Okay. And now we need to temporarily, looks like we have to create a placeholder type for our state. So let's do that. I should do it right here. Export. I'm just going to copy it. I'll leave this comment in here too because it seems important. So this is temporarily until add types React DOM is updated. So export type state is that errors object before. It could have an error for customer ID. It could have an error for amount. It could have errors for status. And it could have a message. Remember, this is very similar. This is the structure of our initial state. Message, error. Okay. And we're just going to pass the previous state to be state. Okay. Fixes the TypeScript here. Fixes the TypeScript here. Okay. And we're not going to use the previous state at all. We just need to have this here for the use form state hook to work. Okay. And instead of parse, we are now going to use save parse. And the difference between parse and save parse is that save parse will let us manually throw an error. Instead of parse will automatically throw an error. So we have to now do if validated fields dot success is false, and return errors validated fields dot error dot flatten. This is all Zod stuff. And message, just copy it. Missing fields, failed to create invoice. So now this is separate from our other error, which is a database error. So a little bit more direct error messages. And then we can do, then we can pull out the data again from validated fields.data. And what do we need? We need the customer ID, we need the amount, and we need the status. Cool. So again, we're doing this with save parse to manually throw the error, or return an error in this case. Okay, and everything else should be the same. Yeah. Go back to our create form. Looks like we're going to go to our choose a customer label, and we're going to go to our select element, and we're going to throw in this area described by, which I'm not too familiar with, but it's going to be customer error. That's the label of this area described by. And then right below our select field, we're going to throw in this div, which has the ID of customer error, which connects this to this, and area live polite, area atomic true, and then if the state, remember this is a state, and this is the initial state. So if the state has errors, and if it has specifically the customer ID error, then let's map the errors to a bunch of paragraphs that are colored red. And we'll do the same exact thing for, let's see, does it want us to? Sure, let's test it out. Oh, use the example above, add errors to your remaining fields. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So right here, we'll call this amount error. Copy this div. We'll put this right here. Where do I want it? Below the relative. Okay. Oh, it's two relatives. I'm being picky about this because I want it to be exactly in the same spot. Okay, we'll just do one div above. Okay, so this is going to be described by amount error. Amount error, and this will be errors.amount. Amount. Okay, and then last but not least, we have the field set, which I guess would have to be put on both inputs by status error. Status error. And let's copy this div here. This will go right. Okay, not sure where exactly to put it, but let's put it right here. And this will be for status. status. Okay, that looks good. Let's test it out by pressing create, and we got some errors. Please select the customer. So let's select the customer. Submit again. Amount greater than 0. Put -34. Still get the error. Paid. Create. Cool. So we still have our validation is working. And let's see here. Once you're ready, hit npm run lit. See if we're using these labels correctly. Let's go ahead. npm run lint. No lint errors. Let me quickly update my npm. Okay. Let's run lint again. No errors. npm run dev. Okay. If you would like to challenge yourself, take the knowledge you've learned in the chapter and add form validation to edit form.tsx. Shall we do that? Let's see here. Yeah, let's go for it. Let's go for it. I'm going to go ahead and open up my VS Code, and let's just do it quickly. I'm going to split my actions file so I can just copy what I had before. I'm going to use the same state. I know I'm copying the exact same thing, but just for the sake of looking back as notes, let's just keep it like this. Oh, we can't. So yeah, I will put the state type at the top because I'm going to use it twice. Let's put it. Yeah, let's put it at the top. It's fine. Okay. So update invoice function, we will take the previous state, which is the state. Okay, and then we will do what? We will use safe parse. Safe parse. This will be validated fields. If the fields are not successful, let's go ahead and just throw same thing, and then we'll do const. We can copy this line too, actually. No problem. Okay. And everything else stay the same. So that's good. So we're done with the actions file. Go and close that. We will open up the create form. We will open up the edit form on the side. We should have an error. Yep. Because we didn't. So let's do same thing here. Import use form state. We will create an initial state. And then we will do a pass in this update invoice with ID to our use form state, and then we'll pass the dispatch to our form action. And we looks like we are okay. So it looks like actually I think this is what I have to do. I have to go to our update form action, and we have to switch these. I think like that. There you go. Yeah. So the ID is gonna go first, then the previous state. Because we're using the bind here. Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. Let's check it out real quick. Let's go to our invoices. Oh no, we have to do our errors. So I'm gonna copy exact same errors here. So described by custom error here. Customer error, I mean. Amount described by then we have this error message right here. Save, scroll down, status error here, status error here, and finally our final error message, which will go right here. Save. Close. Okay, let's test it out. I pretty much copied everything from the update. Sorry if that was a little bit too fast, but that was a bonus exercise. I didn't want to drown on it too much. So we can try it out. Let's go to edit this evil rabbit right here. Now let's remove the name. We can't, well, select the customer. We can't click. Okay, so let's go to, delete the amount and press edit invoice. And we can't because we get the error message now. So that works out great. So the main point here is that we still got to use the form action, even though we used the hook. We did not use the onSubmit, and from what I know, that is still better way to work with forms and follow the idea of progressive enhancement. I'll reveal the solution, which I think is fine. So this is basically what I did. Initial state, binding. Then we go to our function, ID first, yep. Save parse, success, destructure. Okay, chapter 14. Except chapter 15, adding authentication.